Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Bakari Lumumba back once again, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. Back once again, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button and share with your friends and well wishers. Back with another video, starting off Pan-African History Month. I'm going to say that once again, Pan-African History Month. Black History Month, as you all know, started with Negro History Week. That was created by, of course, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, most famous for his book, Miseducation of the Negro, which was written in 1933. And if you haven't read it, you need to, because if you read it today, you will believe or think it was written yesterday. That shows you the lack of progress we've made in terms of restoring the African mind. Well, with that being said, we have a video here today where we're going to be discussing Pan-African History Month, 3 keys to viewing Black history. And why do I say Pan-African history that you asked? I think it's very important that we understand that Black history did not start here in the Western world. It did not start here on the shores of North America. It did not start when we landed on Plymouth Rock. But as Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And I think it's very important that we understand that Black history started, of course, on the African continent. Secondly, I think it's very important that when I say Pan-African History Month, we have to understand the context that oftentimes you will hear people. These are people, I would say, charged to their head, not their heart, who mean well, I would say, Black history is American history. I think that's a misnomer. I think it's very important that we understand that American history is part of Black history, but we have to understand that Black history encapsulates what? Global, the history of Black people globally, right? And so I think it's very important that we understand that. But also, I think it's very important that when we teach Black history, we understand that there are 3 ways of viewing Black history. We know oftentimes, unfortunately, when our children go through public education, we're taught that anytime something good happened to Black people, it was due to the largesse of whites or another group of people. And so that doesn't support or help promote agency, of course, or self-determination. So we don't want our children learning those type of things. And of course, we are advocates of learning and loving our history, but we also need to be students of our history as well. So this is why we're doing this video today, where we're talking about 3 ways of viewing Black history or Pan-African history, in which we want you all to get a proper understanding, thorough analysis when we go into celebrating what Pan-African History Month 2022. So the first way of viewing Black history is this catastrophic view, right? This catastrophic view argues that Black history has been plagued in the New World by a series of catastrophic events, right? At the hands, of course, of white people, dealing with white supremacy, chattel enslavement, Black codes, Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow, etc. Convict leasing, you get the picture. And so there have been a number of many famous African Americans who have promoted this perspective, right? One would be E. Franklin Frazier, who of course was the Howard University graduate, who is most known for writing his seminal text, The Black Bourgeoisie, right? Another would be Nathan Hare, who wrote The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual. Then of course we all know the late great Pan-Africanist, Muslim minister, and human rights advocate Malcolm X, also known as El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, who believed that Black history here in the New World, or the Western world, as some would say, is rooted in a number of unfortunate, catastrophic events. However, I push back against that just a little bit, even though we do know that this is true, but it doesn't really look at supporting and promoting Black agency. The second way one views Black history is this perspective of what being a contributionist, right? And so when we look at the contribution that Black people have made, going all the way back to antiquity, right? Going all the way back to the Nile Valley, to Kemet, and throughout the world, in which, of course, Black people were the progenitors of course, of science and mathematics and architecture and agriculture, so on and so forth, and the irrigation systems, right? So we understand as the fathers and mothers of humanity and human civilization, we should not be acting like what the cultural children of the world. And so it's very important that we understand that there's a contributions aspect of it, and a manner in which you could view Black history as well. And then last but not least, there's a survivalist perspective when looking at Black history, right? Dr. Malala Karenga, who is most known for his work with the US organization and the creation, co-founding of Kwanzaa, right? The Pan-African holiday that celebrates, of course, family, community, and culture. He coined a term called adaptive vitality, right? This is being able to adjust to changing circumstances without losing one's substantive essence. And so one of the key scholars who have actually touched on and written and provided literature on this concept of what being a survivalist or adaptive vitality, of course, is Melville J. Herskovits, who wrote the book Myth of the Negro Past. And in this book, he delineates the manners in which Africanisms or African cultural retention is found by black people throughout the Western world, and shows that black people here in the Western world, due to centuries of desocialization, de-Africanization, we still are inherently who we are as a people. And even this thing about that, W.B. Du Bois's, I believe his PhD dissertation on the Philadelphia Negro found significant forms of African cultural retention and black people in Philadelphia at the turn of the 20th century. So very quickly, before you start celebrate Pan-African History Month, we want to make sure that we understand this Pan-African history, because black history is global. Once you also understand that there are three key critical perspectives in which you can view black history. One, of course, is being a catastrophic view, in which we believe, many people believe, that black people in the New World have been historically and contemporary victims of racism, bigotry, prejudice throughout our history in the New World. The second is the contributionist perspective, in which we look at the contributions that black people have made from antiquity to today to not only humanity but human civilization. Then the third, of course, is the survivalist perspective, also known as adaptive vitality, and we looked at how black people have adapted to living in a hostile environment while still being able to retain that sense of self and their cultural identity. And one of the key figures in that approach is, of course, Dr. Maulana Karenga and Melvin J. Hutchins in his book, Myth of the Negro Past. So that's all I have to say. I hope you all have a great time celebrating Pan-African History Month. That was, of course, created by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. That started as Black History Week or Negro History Week. But until next time, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Peace.